Hello, my name is Gerard Canisius. This is my first video on a new series called ENGI Travels, which is Engineering Travels in short. In these, I aim to give my primary attention to interesting engineering aspects of places that I visit. Also, as much as possible, I will refrain from providing details available elsewhere. If you do not wish to miss any of my future videos, please subscribe to this channel and then click on the black bell button that says all. The title of this presentation is Why Did Ancient Ruins of Mexico Remind Me of Sri Lanka? These two countries are located many thousands of miles apart, but they both had technically advanced ancient civilizations. This presentation has two parts. The first part provides general highlights from my visit to some ancient ruins in Mexico. The second part, which is engineering related, describes the corbelled arches and vaults I saw in Mexico and how they reminded me of corbelled arches I had seen in Sri Lanka several years ago. It also describes the serendipitous discovery of those Sri Lankan artifacts in 1982 and the irrigation structure of which they were part. In Mexico, I visited some of its awe-inspiring ancient temple pyramids and buildings. They were built by pre-Hispanic people, collectively called Mesoamericans, who lived there before the arrival of the Spanish in 1517 AD. This is a map of Mexico where I have marked its capital, the Mexico City, and also Cancun, the beautiful beach resort well known to travelers from the United Kingdom and the United States. Southern Mexico has a large number of historic sites containing pre-Hispanic ruins. I visited three of the most impressive amongst them. My first destination was the ancient city of Teotihuacan near Mexico City. From there, I went to Palanque, located in the jungles southeast of Mexico City. The third place was Chichen Itza, which can be reached with a 2.5-hour drive from Cancun. The golden ages of these three places, which are UNESCO heritage sites, were from 300 AD to 1185 AD. As you can see here, those periods did not overlap. The oldest is Teotihuacan and the youngest of the three is Chichen Itza. All of them fell and lost their influence due to internal wars well before the Spanish arrived. The places I visited were large and very impressive. I believe it is only a visit to those places that can make us see and appreciate them in their true scale. Unfortunately, most of the structures are now cordoned off, which is said to be since the COVID pandemic. This prevented us, even in 2025, from seeing and studying their important features and from enjoying some of the great views to be had from elevated locations as described in guidebooks. It is not only the individual structures that make these places awe-inspiring, but also their arrangement on site to create well-planned cities that reflected their religious beliefs. Owing to this religious nature, their pyramids had temples on top of them, for which reason they are called temple pyramids instead of just pyramids as in Egypt. Teotihuacan is located just northeast of Mexico City. It was built by the people of that name who preceded the Aztecs that the Spanish conquered. Three important features of the site are: first, the Avenue of the Dead. It is a wide 2.5 miles long centrally located path. We can see it extending from one end to the other of the map and also in the physical scale model shown here. Second, the Pyramid of the Moon. It is the large structure to be seen at the top of the map at the far extreme of the avenue. Third, the Pyramid of the Sun. It is the biggest and most impressive structure on site. We can see it to the right in the scale model and on the map. Here we can see the Pyramid of the Moon, the avenue, and when I fully turn the camera by 90 degrees, the majestic Pyramid of the Sun. The Pyramid of the Sun is the biggest pyramid in Mexico. There are flights of steps that lead to the top of the pyramid, but they are cordoned off since the COVID pandemic. The Mexican pyramids were built in layers, one on top of the other, to create large and tall structures. I was told that this pyramid used to be taller than what we see today, but owing to structural stability issues, its last layer was removed. The smooth front facade we see today should be a restored version because the structure is not that smooth on its other sides. Here we can see workers at height on one side of the pyramid. They look tiny in comparison to this large structure. They are weeding the stone facade, which is a common maintenance activity for brick and stone structures, especially if they are not plastered. For example, this is a restored ancient brick stupa at Anuradhapura, which was the first capital of Sri Lanka. Its right side is covered in weeds, but its left side has been already cleared by the workers who work from scaffolds. The second biggest structure at Teotihuacan is the Pyramid of the Moon, which is located at one end of the Avenue of the Dead. Although smaller than the Pyramid of the Sun, also this pyramid is very impressive. I noticed that its three flights of steps are not aligned in a straight line. Palanque has some of the most impressive Mayan ruins. One of the most attractive buildings is the palace that is circled in this map. The ruins of the palace that has several stories and a watchtower look beautiful from all directions. According to guidebooks, this building is an interesting place to explore, but as with most others, it is cordoned off to visitors. When we were there, a man disregarded the boundary of the restricted region to climb the steps of the building. It did not take long for security guards, who were present throughout the site, to spring into action. Another interesting building is the Temple of the Inscriptions, which is circled in blue. It was in a funeral chamber that had to be accessed via a secret passageway that the remains of King Pakal, who ruled from 680 AD to 720 AD, were found in 1952. In 1994, the body of a woman presumed to be Pakal's mother was found inside Temple 13, which is situated to the right of the Temple of the Inscriptions and can be entered through the entrance that is protected by a temporary roof. Chichen Itza has been proclaimed as a wonder of the world, placing it among the Great Pyramids of Egypt and the Taj Mahal of India. The biggest and the most photographed building in Chichen Itza is the Temple of Kukulkan, also known as the Castle. It has 4 flights of steps, one on each of the 4 sides, and a temple at the top. The large structure we get to see as the camera turns left is the ball court where Mayans played ball. It is the largest and best preserved Mayan ball court anywhere. There is one at Palanque, but it is not well preserved as this one. Hence, I did not even mention it earlier. The players had to pass a rubber ball through a stone ring fixed high on each of the 2 side walls. This is the ball ring of the left wall of the court, and this is the corresponding one of the right wall. The spectator stands were located above those walls. It is said that a sound made at one end of this long ball court can be clearly heard at its other end. I could not experience it because the place was crowded and many were trying to test the phenomenon. However, a person who had visited this site on a special tour for a group of scientists told me how he experienced the acoustic phenomenon and was awed by it. As a structural engineer, my main interest in visiting these places was to observe the engineering aspects of these great ruins. Owing to their mystique, I wanted to see the Mayan pyramids, although I had seen larger and much older ones in Egypt. I was also keen to learn about what is called the Mayan arch, known to engineers as a Corbelled arch, which some travel books and websites either stated or implied was an invention of the Mayas. For the benefit of those who are unfamiliar with Corbelled arches, I like to mention that they are triangular in shape, like an inverted letter V. Their structural behavior is different from that of a semicircular Roman arch. To explain how they are built and can even collapse, I have produced a supplementary video. It is available in this channel, the Canisius channel on YouTube. Now I will present some of the corbelled arches and vaults I saw in Mexico. Interestingly, this arch is thicker at the top than at the bottom. This is the entrance to Temple 13, where I saw many corbelled arches and vaults. The vault surface of the entrance passage is rough because rough stones have been used, but the surface of the inside corridor is smoother because it used shaped blocks of stone. This is a wider vaulted chamber in Temple 13. This narrow passage leads to a flight of steps. Intricately and awe-inspiringly, vaults often change direction by a right angle. In the ruins of the Palace of Palanque, which is observable only from its periphery, we could see several damaged corbelled arches. As the buildings at Chichen Itza were out of bounds, we could see only two corbelled arches. They had wooden poles fixed across them. I do not know the definitive reason, but it could be to prevent the arches collapsing inward from a lack of sufficient dead weight from above, as my supplementary video demonstrates. What made me think of Sri Lanka after seeing the corbelled arches of the Mayas? It was a well-constructed corbelled arch that I had visited several years ago in Sri Lanka. In fact, it was not just one arch, but two next to each other. If these are older than the Mayan buildings, then it is unlikely that the Mayans invented the corbelled arch. Also, it is possible that at a time with no interactions between these civilizations, the Mayans invented it independently later. Carbon dating has determined the Sri Lankan structure to be of the 1st century BC, built much earlier than the Mayan buildings. Also, I discovered that much older corbelled arches existed in some ancient civilizations of Europe and the Middle East. Now, what is this corbelled arch structure that made me think of Sri Lanka on visiting Mexico? It was a structure that protected the sluice of the ancient earth dam built across the river Maduru Oya to create a rainwater reservoir. It is considered to have been built by King Teotihuacan, who reigned from 44 BC to 22 BC. A sluice is the means for taking water of a reservoir out through the dam in a controlled manner. This is a drawing of the dual-channel sluice at Maduru Oya. The left picture is the view from the water side, that is the water inlet. The right picture is the view of the sluice as it comes out of the dam on the land side. The top diagram shows the two channels of the sluice passing through the protective brickwork system of the dam. The two parallel channels of the Maduru Oya sluice are formed by granite blocks. This is the inlet of a channel. This is the outlet of a channel. Only the inlet side, where the water pressure is high, has corbelled arches. They would have protected the sluice from the weight of the dam and also prevented any water leaking through the granite from soaking the earth dam to weaken it. This is the only known example of a corbelled arch within an irrigation structure. Tests have shown that the bricks used in the construction are strong and of a very high quality that is not easy to replicate. The discovery of the 2000 years old Maduru Oya Dam and its sluice was by chance. The dam had breached long ago and the area had been reclaimed by the jungle to be forgotten and to become the abode of wild animals such as elephants who still roam there. Its existence became known only in 1978 when a new dam was being built under the major irrigation and hydroelectric power scheme called the Accelerated Mahaveli Project. A part of the project was to build a dam across the river Maduru Oya and provide two small hydroelectric power stations. I have identified this project with a blue ellipse in the diagram for the whole scheme. With modern surveying instruments and calculation methods, civil engineers determined the best location for the new Maduru Oya Dam. Accordingly, workers started to clear the jungle for the construction, but they had to stop work before long because, to everyone's surprise, there was an ancient dam in the same location as where they were to build a new one. Owing to the ravages of time, only 300 meters of the original 1 kilometer long earth structure that was 23 meters high remained. In this picture of the cleared site, I have enclosed the remaining dam in a blue rectangle and the breached region in a yellow one. In order to preserve the old dam, the government decided to relocate the new dam to about 100 meters upstream of the existing one. Here, within a black ellipse, we can see the old dam, while the new one is the long grey lizard-like structure nearby. In this way, the old dam was prevented from being inundated by water of the new reservoir. Canadian and local engineers working there on the project told us of it, as well as the next two stories, during a visit to the construction site in 1982. Later, I noticed this information also in an academic publication by Professor R.A.L.H. Gunawardana. When I last visited the site in 2018, I could still see the ancient dam, but it was overgrown and covered in vegetation, as these pictures show. This photo, taken from the top of the dam, which we could see partially in the previous pictures, shows the new reservoir on the left, away from the old dam. The serendipity of the place did not end there. While the new dam was being constructed, engineers had to incorporate a channel to take out water of the reservoir to irrigate farmland. They calculated the best location along the new dam for a new sluice and the corresponding open-air channel, but they faced a new challenge because the ancient dam was in its way. This required them to excavate the old dam to create the path for the new channel. However, they had to suspend activities before long because, lo and behold, in that very same location, they came across the sluice of the ancient dam. The path determined by the ancient people, possibly by observing how and where water flowed, was the same as what modern engineers determined from calculations for the new dam. This picture shows the new rock-filled dam, the old earth dam, and inside a pink ellipse the location of the ancient sluice. In order to preserve the old sluice, the new channel was directed away from it and through a tunnel. Another discovery was that the 75 feet tall ancient dam was of optimal height for that location. Any taller would not have helped to collect extra water because there were two gaps in the surrounding mountain ranges that formed the boundary of the reservoir. Any more water would have spilled out through them. In fact, these so-called saddle gaps acted as natural spillways of the old reservoir, preventing the dam from being damaged by overtopping water during heavy rains, just like the overflow hole of a wash basin would prevent water overflowing its rim. The new rock-filled dam is higher than the old earth dam. This was achieved by closing those spillway saddle gaps with small dams and providing a new artificial spillway close to the new main dam. This diagram shows the location of the new dam within an orange circle and those of the old spillways inside red circles. It shows the extent of the spread of water at full reservoir capacity during ancient times in dark blue and that with the new dam in light blue. Now, what about the old Mexican buildings? I should say that they are some of the most impressive ancient structures I have seen. It is not only the individual structures in these places that impress one, but also their site planning. A visit to see their achievements on site in Mexico is very worthwhile, as would be a visit to see Sri Lanka's ancient engineering heritage. If you liked this video, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. It is free of charge.